And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, you're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with your host, Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today. You've got your backup quarterback, James DeJerome, in the chair. Same commitment to providing consumer advocacy, same program we always do. I'm the executive producer of the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. So I want to thank Brandon for giving me the opportunity to step in for him. As part of the show, I have a great partnership with Brandon. We've been doing this together for a couple of years now. His commitment to consumer advocacy and finding business owners and guests that want to come on and share their insights and give you some knowledge about what they do and how they do it and the things they've learned over the years from being involved in their field. So it's a great chance for you to sit back and learn a little something on the Consumer Quarterback Show. One of the things Brandon has really impressed is we want to positively impact you. We want to give you some positive news. We want to change the narrative from the typical negative mainstream news, and that's one thing we're going to do today is inject you with some positivity like we always do. Now, like any good backup quarterback, think maybe Fitzmagic, or for you older folks, maybe Don Strock. Like any good backup quarterback, I'm going to lean on my teammates. We've got a great team here in the studio. I've got DJ Yahoo back there running things, AM 860. When you're listening to us on the radio, you're hearing his work, and he does a great job keeping us sounding right. Of course, if you're watching the television program on WeBeam TV every day at 10 a.m. or on any of the other smart TV applications we have, Apple TV, Roku, we're all over the place out there. And if you do catch the TV show, search Binge Networks TV on any smart TV and you'll find us out there. So we're available all over the place. For those of you who do check out the show on TV, you'll probably see our intern, Demetrius, back there behind the glass. So the whole team's here, and I want to thank those guys for helping me come out here and host the show today. We're also want to introduce you to some partners. You know, we have a great partner in the studio today, and the key to this show is the partners. They come on and tell you a little bit about their business, their experience, and give you that knowledge that makes the show work. So to that end, I've got Heather Lalk, Fit to a T, is here today. This is Heather's second appearance on the show. We talked a little bit about her background. She has a really interesting story where she kind of empowered herself through knowledge, and I wanted to introduce her today. Heather, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you lately.
Oh, just been working with a lot of different clients. Really proud of them. I have my studio in downtown Dunedin. Okay. So it's a boutique studio. So it's a very one-on-one, customized programming for each person, depending on what their goals are.
Okay. Now you do everything from nutrition. You have a background as a nutritionist.
I do. I'm a certified nutritional health coach.
You also participate yourself in competition.
I do once in a while. I do. I didn't do it to go pro, but I did it just to see how amazing things that my body can do, and just so there's a goal for me as well.
So if you guys are watching the TV show, you see Heather's in great shape. But her story is a little surprising because it wasn't always the case where you were feeling great and in a physical shape. Tell us a little bit about your history medically.
Growing up, I was always very active. I competed horses. I took ballet, jazz, and tap. Gymnastics. And then I had to be an adult, so I did a lot of marketing, and I was sitting in the car a lot. Mm-hmm. So in my late 20s, early 30s, I started to really ache a lot, like I was 80 years old, and I just could not understand what was going on with me.
Felt muscular joints?
Yeah, just muscles.
Okay.
Muscles mostly.
Okay.
In all quadrants, even when I was sleeping, I could barely sleep. It was almost like I had sleep apnea, but then they tested me and they said I did not.
And it's not a result of soreness where you did an activity and then felt sore?
No.
It was in general?
Yeah, just in general.
Now, how long did you suffer from that, or did you feel that way until you actually took activity and tried to do something about it?
I did. I just got tired of doctors trying to give me pharmaceuticals for it, because I'm very anti-pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. Just that's me personally. And I took it upon myself to find out what was really going on. So I kind of figured out that I had fibromyalgia, but still to this day, they really don't know where it comes from. It's just widespread aching and pain.
It affects men, women, all ages?
Yes, it does. And usually it comes from trauma, from our pasts. I know I've taken a lot of hits with coming off bikes, getting bucked into walls with horses ridden over, fell on my tailbone. So all of those over time, we don't realize it when we're younger. We said, oh, we'll just get up and we're ready to rock and roll. But as we age, those injuries come back to haunt us.
I see. And I'm no stranger to that as well with football. You rehab and you get to a point where you can operate back to the functionality that you had before, but the injury's in the background. So in years when you stop motion, you're sedentary, all of a sudden you start to feel that ache and pain a little bit. Maybe you did something that didn't quite heal 100%. Now, the key to this whole thing is diet, to me. You found this. Did you pursue nutrition as a result of your issue, or did you were interested in nutrition prior to the fibromyalgia issue?
I did. I grew up learning how to cook everything from scratch. Came back from a Hungarian Croatian background, very old school, which was awesome, but I had a notion that I had allergies because I could kind of tell as I'd drink too much beer, because I'm from Wisconsin, or I would eat something, I wouldn't feel so great, or I would have a headache, or I would ache more. So I really wanted to research that, and I found that kinesiology testing for me personally works the best, which is muscle testing. And that told me what I kind of thought, that I was allergic to things like wheat, nightshade vegetables, especially when you have fibromyalgia. You should stay away from nightshade vegetables, peppers, eggplants, anything like that.
I don't know. Nightshade, is that what you said? Help define that for me.
Anything that grows in the ground, pretty much, or from the ground. So tomatoes, the acidics in it. Sometimes people are a little less sensitive to things than others, but as a whole, you kind of should stay away from that. Dairy, unfortunately, I'm from the dairy state as well, and I have to stay away from dairy a little bit. You
said acidic, and I hear that sometimes in terms of dieting, they want to change your alkaline to a base, that kind of thing. I don't understand those terms really when it comes to food. How do you apply acidity to, you said tomato would be a food that's high in acid.
Yeah, they just kind of permeate your gut lining, and so they cause something like leaky gut syndrome. So you have a lot of problems digestively. But
what other foods would be in that category besides a tomato?
Peppers, eggplants can do it sometimes. Raw vegetables sometimes can do it to certain people. Black beans. I'm just taking, for example, a lot of things that really kind of affect me.
Sure. And the opposite is what? Of an acidic...
I mean, I can eat tons and tons of green beans.
Because they represent more of a base?
Yeah. They don't have all of those properties, but they're very, very nutritious, but they're easier on the gut lining.
I see.
Yeah, cucumbers without the seeds. French cucumbers are much better. Zucchini, squash, because they're very water-based.
I think a lot of folks out there are under the impression that eating healthy means fruits and vegetables, and certainly that's a healthy alternative to some other foods that exist out there.
It is.
But a way to categorize your specific vegetables for your own diet, I don't think I've ever even thought of that in terms of one might be acidic and might affect my diet one way or have an impact on me directly. So when you work with someone, you customize their plan. How do you determine their foods?
We can do it through kinesiology testing.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. When you say that,
usually a lot of chiropractors, acupuncturists do it. They actually put vials, different things in vials, and they'll actually have you hold that vial and press on your arm to see if you are weak in that area.
Really?
Some people say they like it. Some people don't. There's kind of mixed. You kind of have to figure out what works best for you. There's blood testing that they can do for food allergy testing. But if you are inflamed, remember, highly inflamed, you're going to test positive for everything. And so you can't say, oh my goodness, I can't eat anything now.
So you mean as a result of a traumatic event, perhaps?
Yeah.
Or a muscle tear or something?
And over time, our bodies change, because look at the environment and all the pollutants that we breathe, we drink, even if we're trying to be healthy as all can be. So we're being hit by all of that, all the sprays, the pesticides that they use. Some of us are more... we are more susceptible to being sick from it than others.
I know you had a really interesting point when we first got together. I said, how do you break somebody down and start from scratch? And you said, well, you got to find something you can handle, and then we add to it as we build the diet. So you try to break somebody down and say, well, I know you may have good habits and bad habits. Let's start with something we know is positive, and then add to it. Is that the structure?
Yeah. We can start, and you have to ask if people are really willing to do that. I mean, there's other ways around it. Some people just aren't willing to do that.
Because it's hard to diet, period. And when you ask someone to take away everything except for a few items, they immediately...
It is, yeah. And I said, too, if there's different ways of taking more fiber out of vegetables, like juicing it versus, pulverizing it or putting in a blender. And sometimes people have a lot of problems with a lot of fiber. And then some people really need to take a lot of fiber.
Right. So the way you prepare it, not just the food item, but how you prepare it. And then the quantities, and is there something to do with timing as well when you eat it?
It's timing too. I mean, like, let's say people are they're competing and they have a food surplus, a caloric surplus, meaning 2,000 calories even for a woman a day. Well, they're working out a couple times, like usually 2 times a day, and they're lifting very, very heavy, and they're also doing the cardio. But sometimes they would eat a larger meal before and after that workout. Because really anybody, if you're lifting weights or doing any type of exercise, you're tearing down that muscle so it can rebuild. You have a 20 to 30 minute window after you work out to get that protein in there to help rebuild that muscle.
So Heather, you would put together a custom plan that would advise somebody when to eat, what they would be eating, the quantities, right? And then try to find targets for how many calories, and then kind of target how much protein that person requires, those kind of things.
Yeah. It's very suggested. I can suggest meal planning for different people, and then we can really hone down and figure out what's going to work for them. I think one time you used to ask me when I was eating lunch, you said, "Oh, what kind of, are you on a keto diet?"
Right.
And I said, "Diet's a really bad word. I don't like that word. It's like a swear word." Because I said it's a Heather diet.
Okay. It's just for you. It's what you need.
Exactly.
That's the idea. All right, we're going to come into a break now. When we come back, we're going to get specific with Heather, because you guys may have some goals out there of maintaining some muscular appearance while you lose weight. And that can be a challenge to a lot of folks out there. So when we come back from break, we're going to get specifics on that with Heather. We got a feel-good story for you coming up. I can tell you that I know a father out there who adopted a bunch of kids, and I got a great story for you so they could stay together. I think you're going to enjoy it. Stay with us. Consumer Quarterback Show rolls on.
Hey, this is Jarek Robbins. You are listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Please do what it takes to learn all that you have to live the life you want to live it fully, and find a way to give it by paying it forward to others.
Get in touch with Brandon online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today. You've got your backup quarterback, James DeJerome, in the chair. Same commitment to providing you that consumer knowledge that's going to help your dollar go a little farther out there. And same commitment to that positive section that Brandon always talks about, injecting some positivity and going against some of the negativity in the news that you see all the time. And to that end, I got a story here about a single dad that adopted some kids. And you think, well, what a great story. A guy adopted some children. Well, it's a little more than you think, because a foster father in Buffalo, New York, he adopted 5 siblings. These kids were all brothers and sisters, ages 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. He adopted all 5 so they could stay together. Lamont Thomas has fostered more than 30 children. On Thursday, he became a father of 12 when he adopted Zendaya, Jamel, Nakia, Major, and Michaela. The children had been separated for more than a year and a half and had spent time in 4 different homes in different cities. Thomas swooped in 2 years ago and took them in as foster kids. I fought for those close to 2.5 years just to be able to get them together, and we finally won. We got them all back together again. I wanted to be the difference, to make a difference by being a difference for these youth. Thomas joked that expanding his family with the energy of toddlers means he's come out of retirement, but they bring a new energy to me, he told Good Morning America. They're lovable kids, very affectionate. They deserve to be raised as siblings, and that was my fight. So great story there about a guy who's going the extra mile to keep his kids together because he realizes how important family is, and that's the kind of thing we want to let you know about on the Consumer Quarterback Show. In addition, we've been visiting with Heather Lalk, and Heather's been telling us some information all about diet and some of the things she's done to help change her physical condition. She was unhappy with the way she felt and took action, and that's what we always try to talk about on the show. Do something positive out there. Heather's been visiting with us in the first segment. We talked a little bit about some specific dieting advice and some of the ways she deals with clients when she builds a custom program for you. I had a question for you, Heather, because I used to work in football for a long time, and I had these football coaches. They would just force themselves to run. They put on the sweat jacket, and they would run. And these guys were in their 60s, and they did no weightlifting. They would look horrible. They looked like skeletons. I would say to these guys, you'd think why is this good? I mean, what's the good side of this thing? So talk about dieting and relating to muscle mass. A lot of people lose their muscle. They're worried about losing their shape when they diet. Is that something you face all the time?
Oh, yeah. You need to, keep up a physique, and I'm not talking about if you want to go on stage to compete, but we start losing our muscle mass, men and women, in our 30s. So we really need that. And plus muscle burns more fat. So that's a really big plus.
So you're saying as a way to lose fat, you build muscle.
Correct.
So it's not just avoiding eating, guys. Heather, I know you brought some photos. You want to get into some of the pictures of you?
Sure.
Heather, as we told you, if you're not watching the TV show, you're missing out today. Heather has done some competition, but mostly she's just really lean and in great shape, and she wanted to bring some photos to show you guys. Now, tell us about your diet when you appear like that. How many calories?
Yeah, I can't remember how many weeks out I was. I was just kind of leaning out towards the competition, but I wasn't very close.
So it's a gradual reduction in calories as you get closer?
Yeah, well, you actually have to pump up the calories in order to build that muscle.
Okay.
And then you kind of shred out and kind of go, in a negative surplus as you get closer to your competition.
And as far as your composition goes, is your protein level stay the same, or do you go up as your...
No, it goes up. It also does the fat levels as well. Healthy fat is what I'm talking about. Avocados, olive oils. Sometimes my coach would take a look at me and I would say, oh my goodness, I feel so fat, because you're at that point. But he said, no, you're not. I don't see fat. I see flat. Your muscles are flat. We need to get the glycogen back in your muscles that make them blow up and expand and look really good.
Now, healthy fat is kind of a different thing for me. Give me some more examples of how that plays into healthy fats.
Healthy fats, yeah. Our hormones love healthy fats. Our thyroid loves healthy fats. That's why when people take so much out of their diets, their body's looking for it. It needs it to keep those hormone levels at bay, we should say.
Right.
So avocados are wonderful as long as you're not allergic to them.
Right.
Olive oils, coconut oils, things of that nature. So you can put those in your diet, and it's fun and it's satisfying.
Yeah, I imagine you have a better perspective on how to eat right. For guys, they tend to just cut down. They eat just a couple of cans of tuna fish, or they get really to the point where they can't sustain it. It's not sustainable. It's something they can do for a couple of days, but it's not a lifestyle or something that's going to continue for a while. Do you have a cookbook you give folks, or when they say, I can't eat just that, what do you tell them?
I actually have a accountability journal I give to the folks that work with me that would like it. I tell them, write down all the meals, where it's at, kind of guesstimate if they're not measuring it out or weighing it out, how many ounces of things, and how they feel.
Right.
Put down if you don't feel very well or if you have issues with your digestion, because we kind of have to figure out and uncover what's going on.
It's a critical step to be your own doctor in a way, that you record. Last time you were on the show, we talked a little bit, I gave you some history about me in wrestling. You have to cut way down, right? So you're constantly cutting weight, but that tells you what you can eat, and you start to categorize foods by, I know I can eat this and I'll only have this impact on me, and I can lose this much weight this way. So you start to study your own custom diet and what foods affect you and how they affect you. Right. When you work with somebody new that's coming to this completely from a non-diet perspective at all, you got to start with some food 101, like this is a protein, this is a carb, and talk about complex and simple, that kind of thing?
Correct, yes. And I think, too, I learned in school, me coming from a background, I was taught how to cook things from scratch and from the garden. A lot of people don't even know what tools that they need or can utilize in their kitchen.
Right.
So, and then also to make life simple, if you're single, you still need to have certain tools in your kitchen to make your life very easy if you're working full time. So those are things that I can help revamp your kitchen or even grocery store tours.
Okay, so it's a lot more. It's a lifestyle. Heather's here to try to build a lifestyle for you in terms of constructing a diet that's going to work for you, that's sustainable. And when you put together the exercise program, again, that's kind of based on their physiology or their ability to exercise, where they're coming from?
Yeah, it is, and also what their goals are as well. But I always try to instill in them, especially in women, because I work with men as well. But women, there's a huge misconception in the fitness world for many, many years that if women go heavier in their weightlifting, they're going to get bulky and unattractive and look like these big, huge bodybuilders on stage, that they're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to look like that.
Right.
And I try to tell them, you're losing the muscle in your 30s, and more muscle burns more fat. Your body has to utilize more oxygen, which actually speeds up your metabolic rate. Hours, days after you stop lifting and that set time,
right,
versus when you're on a treadmill or elliptical machine, you're doing cardio, you're burning fat just then and there. Once you step off of that equipment, it no longer is burning.
So think about that. The misconception is I'm going to get bigger and bulky and lose my flexibility and not have the appearance that I really want. But the actual fact is you're going to have an easier time getting rid of body fat if you have muscle. Correct.
The more muscle burns more fat.
So the idea that I'm just going to do a cut diet, I'm going to stop eating everything, that's bad, because you're going to burn muscle.
Correct. Yes.
And once you lose your muscle, you lose your engine for fat burning.
Yeah, and your body's an amazing biocomputers, kind of how I say it, and it adapts very quickly. So you have to trick your body. You have to throw different things in there. You can't always do heavy weightlifting. You need to put in some HIIT or some Tabata or some high cardio or yoga. You really need to switch it up. Plus, you don't get bored.
If you're working with someone out there and you want to see what you can be, Heather Lalk has a background in nutrition and science, and she's got photos to prove it. So if you want to see what she looks like, you got to check out the TV show, and you want to get together with her and just talk about why you're not where you want to be. You know, you have a goal out there that I want to be maybe a little thinner, I want to be a little more muscular, I want to look a certain way. How do you get there the smartest way? Because Heather's going to use the science and technology to get you where you want to be. Now, when you have a client that wants to reach out to you, and you have to inspire them or motivate them, I mean, do you expect them to come in ready to work, or do you ever have to find them and say, listen, you know, you're going to have to give a little more effort if you want to get where you want to go?
Oh, yeah. We have to have speak to Jesus meetings, shall we say. I always say we can only do so much in your 1, 2, or 3 times that you see me every week. I said, here's your homework. You know, you have to work on this, and it's not just for me, it's for you. You have to want to do it for yourself.
That's right.
And you're going to feel better. I mean, once you push yourself and you make your own self accountable, everything gets really a lot easier. And my whole big saying is get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's even in every other goal that you might have in life.
A similar thing like that in football. How do folks get in touch with Heather Lalk?
They can go visit my website at fit2at.net.
Okay.
I also have an events calendar. I have some events coming up there as well. Sign up for a newsletter and blog that'll be starting.
Oh, cool.
And you can also give me a call at 727-755-3485.
Fit to a T. Where's your studio again, Heather?
It is right downtown in beautiful Dunedin off of Broadway, kind of on the corner of Broadway and Skinner. Okay.
Heather Lalk, Fit to a T. Get in touch with her. She can do everything for you from dieting to exercise program. Achieve the goals you want to achieve. There's no reason to just sit back and say, I can't get there. Find out a professional that'll give you a hand, and certainly we want to do that, make that connection for you here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Stay with us. We're going to have more information for you at consumerqb.com. The show rolls on.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.